Mohamed Morsi L.J.J.T., born 8 August 1951, is an Egyptian politician who served as the fifth president of Egypt, from 30 June 2012 to 3 July 2013, when he was removed by Army Chief General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi after the June 2013 Egyptian protests and the 2013 Egyptian coup d'état. He was the first democratically elected head of state in Egyptian history. Mohamed Morsi was educated in Egyptian public schools and universities. He was later granted a scholarship from the Egyptian government to prepare for a PhD degree in the United States. Morsi was a member of parliament in the People's Assembly of Egypt from 2000 to 2005, and a leading member in the Muslim Brotherhood. He became chairman of the Freedom and Justice Party when it was founded by the Muslim Brotherhood in the wake of the 2011 Egyptian revolution. After escaping from prison, he stood as the FJP's candidate for the May-June 2012 presidential election. Morsi's victory in the presidential election was announced on 24 June 2012 after he won the runoff election, winning 51.7% of the vote against Ahmed Shafik, deposed leader Hosni Mubarak's last prime minister. As president, Morsi issued a temporary constitutional declaration in late November that in effect granted him unlimited powers and the power to legislate without judicial oversight or review of his acts, stating that such a move was necessary in order for him to protect the nation from the Mubarak-era power structure, which he called remnants of the old regime. The temporary constitutional declaration was called for a referendum, an act that his opponents called an Islamist coup. These issues, along with complaints of prosecutions of journalists and attacks on non-violent demonstrators, brought hundreds of thousands of protesters to the streets in the 2012 Egyptian protests. On 30 June 2013, protests erupted across Egypt, which saw protesters calling for the president's resignation. In response to the events, Morsi was given a 48-hour ultimatum by the military to meet their demands and to resolve political differences, or else they would intervene by implementing their own roadmap for the country. He was unseated on 3 July by a military coup council consisting of Defense Minister Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, opposition leader Mohammed el-Baradei, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar Ahmed el-Tayyib, and Coptic Pope Tawadros II. The military suspended the constitution, established a new administration headed by the Chief Justice, and initiated a brutal crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood. Morsi was then detained since the coup to an unknown place, which turned out to be a military base in Alexandria according to an audio leak from Sisi's office that leaked months after Morsi appeared in court. The phone leak is a conversation between government officials conspiring to forge Morsi's detention place to appear as a prison that is tied to the Interior Ministry rather than being a military base. According to the alleged leak, detaining Morsi in a military base was illegal and could void the case. Activists used old and current satellite images to look for the change the leak mentioned. Images verified that the site was recently altered to cut the detention place out of the military base, as if it was a separate building. In a ceremony held at the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering (NUST) in Islamabad, Pakistan, on 18 March 2013, the degree was awarded in recognition of his achievements and significant contribution toward the promotion of peace and harmony in the world and for strengthening bilateral relations with other Muslim countries, especially Pakistan. Academic and engineering career. While living in the United States, Morsi became a lecturer at the California State University, Northridge, and was assistant professor from 1982 to 1985. Morsi, an expert on precision metal surfaces, also worked for NASA in the early 1980s, helping to develop space shuttle engines. In 1985, Morsi quit his job at CSUN and returned to Egypt, becoming a professor at Zagazig University, where he was appointed head of the engineering department. Morsi was a lecturer at Zagazig University's engineering department until 2010. Political career. Morsi was first elected to Parliament in 2000. He served as a Member of Parliament from 2000 to 2005, officially as an independent candidate because the Brotherhood was technically barred from running candidates for office under Mubarak. He was a member of the Guidance Office of the Muslim Brotherhood until the founding of the Freedom and Justice Party in 2011, at which point he was elected by the MB's Guidance Office to be the first president of the new party. While serving in this capacity in 2010, Morsi stated that the two-state solution is nothing but a delusion concocted by the brutal usurper of the Palestinian lands. Morsi condemned the September 11 attacks as horrific crime against innocent civilians. However, he accused the United States of using the 9/11 attacks as a pretext for invading Afghanistan and Iraq, and claimed that the U.S. had not provided evidence that the attackers were Muslims. He also stated that the aircraft collision alone did not bring down the World Trade Center, suggesting something happened from the inside. Such views are held by most Egyptians, including Egyptian liberals. His comments drew criticism in the United States. 2011 detention. Morsi was arrested along with 24 other Muslim Brotherhood leaders on 28 January 2011. He escaped from prison in Cairo 2 days later. The break of Wadi el-Natraoun prison received widespread news coverage within hours of its occurrence, with some reports indicating the political prisoners were sprung from detention by armed gangs, taking advantage of the chaos of the Egyptian revolution. 4 years later, Morsi faced trial for his role in the prison break. He and 105 others were sentenced to death on 16 May 2015. 2012 Egyptian presidential campaign. After Kairat el-Shatta was disqualified from the 2012 presidential election, Morsi, who was initially nominated as a backup candidate, emerged as the new Muslim Brotherhood candidate. His campaign was supported by well-known Egyptian cleric Safwat Higazi at a rally in El Mahalla El Kubra, the epicenter of Egyptian worker protests. Following the first round of Egypt's first post-Mubarak presidential elections, where exit polls suggested a 25.5% share of the vote for Morsi, he was officially announced as the president on 24 June 2012, following a subsequent runoff vote. Morsi supporters in Cairo's Tahrir Square celebrated, and angry outbursts occurred at the Egypt Election Authority's press conference when the result was announced. He came in slightly ahead of former Mubarak-era Prime Minister Ahmed Shafik and has been noted for the Islamist character of his campaign events. Since the initial round of voting on 23 May and 24 May 2012, Morsi has attempted to appeal to political liberals and minorities while portraying his rival Ahmed Shafik as a holdover from the Mubarak era of secular moderation. On 30 May 2012, Morsi filed a lawsuit against Egyptian television presenter Tawfiq Okashar, accusing him of intentional falsehoods and accusations that amount to defamation and slander, according to online newspaper Egypt Independent, an English-language subsidiary of Egyptian daily Al-Masri Al-Yawm. Okashar spent 3 hours on 27 May 2012, criticizing the Muslim Brotherhood and Morsi on air, after Okashar aired a video allegedly depicting Tunisian Islamist extremists executing a Christian while asking, "How will such people govern?" Some analysts suggested that this was in reference to Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood party. The Tunisian government characterized the video as a farce in a harshly worded statement. On 24 June 2012, Morsi was announced as the winner of the election with 51.73% of the vote. Almost immediately afterward, he resigned from the presidency of the Freedom and Justice Party. Beliefs. On changing the government, I hope the people will choose me, an Islamist candidate from the Freedom and Justice Party and Muslim Brotherhood, and God willing the system will move towards stability and development. Mohamed Morsi. During the 2012 presidential election campaign, Morsi said no entity will be above the constitution, but did not spell out his vision for the army's status. He said the army's budget should be overseen by parliament, but there would be a need for secrecy in specific areas. He promised to respect the constitution of Egypt and said the Freedom and Justice Party would not impose what we believe on people. He said Egyptians sought to live in a society in which all had equal rights. He also linked the 2011 revolution to an Islamic awakening in the Middle East. On Islamic society and non-Muslims in Egypt, Morsi said Coptic Christians are certainly just as Egyptian as I am, and have as much a right to this homeland as I do. He said freedom of religion is a right granted by Allah, and Sharia commands Muslims to respect the rights of non-Muslim compatriots. Morsi also compared free markets to the Islamic system, but said Islam requires there to be an ethical component to ensure that the poor share in society's wealth.